Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome back to another episode of the Buckeye Roast. It's your boy Ron James here with my guy QP Ski. Q, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Good morning. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. You got a phone call at 5 in the morning, so you're wide awake. You and Scotty were up chit-chatting this
No,
morning before
yeah,
the show,
no,
so you were
no,
ready to go, right?
no, we were not. That's not what happened.
Before we get started, we got a new first comment in the chat. I don't think I've seen this name first ever on the show. Our guy Javon. So shout out to you, an OH in the chat at 7:53. Early guys in the chat. So shout out to you. We see our guys in there. Our guy Charles. Appreciate you guys pulling up. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you smash that like button. It really helps us out. But man, we might as well get right into it, Q. Yesterday we talked about nicknames for our guy Will Howard, man, and I thought we settled on it. I thought Oppenhoward was the way that we were going to go. But we put out this little video, and man, did the community come up with some good names.
Oh man, yeah.
I still feel like Will Howard's the starter, and we may be jumping the gun, but I kind of like to be prepared and get ahead of things. If Will Howard's the starter, he's gonna need a nickname. Last year we had Honda McCord, Hellcat McCord when he played well. We have Lion Day. You know we like nicknames around here. So I want to get your thoughts on potential nicknames for Will Howard.
Bro, Oppenhoward is crazy. that's the one.
Oh, the atomic bomb. He wanted to be the man who moved the earth. He talks about putting the nuclear genie back in the bottle. Well, I'm here to tell you that I know J. Robert Oppenheimer, and if he could do it all over, he'd do it all the same. You know he's never once said that he regrets Hiroshima? He'd do it all over. Why? Because it made him the most important man who ever lived.
Q, we had some extra names added to the list of potential nicknames for Will Howard in the community, and I want to run them past you and see if you're still sticking with Oppenhoward. We had someone suggest Big Willie. I had to reply with the Will Smith meme because I hadn't heard that name in 24 years since it was the millennium back in 2000.
Oh yeah, it's been a little bit since I heard that one. Big Willie time.
I heard Billy Football. I was very partial to that one. Johnny Football vibes, man. I really like that type of swag around our team. Will Howitzer, they mentioned that one in the video. Not a big fan of that one. But the one that I really liked, Ill Will. Feel like that's too cool of a nickname to give out to someone before they've completed a pass, but it is also a fire nickname.
Yeah, not some bad ones. And I see what you did there with the Oppenheimer music going in the background. Think about
Shout out to my co-host. He's a movie guy. I try to show that we be paying attention.
Yeah, it gave me flashbacks of being in the theater for 3 hours to get through that, but definitely one of the greatest sound to go along with a movie. I'd say I'm still sticking with Oppenhoward. I love that. I don't think that's actually a usable name. No one's gonna actually call him that, but that is a great name just to have. Out of these, I don't know. I don't mind Will Howitzer. I don't mind that. I don't think that's a usable name either, but I'm liking them.
I feel like if he comes out here and scores like 4 touchdowns against Akron week 1, I think he's gonna get ill will. Like, remember when after Johnny Football left Texas A&M and like they were so ready to anoint Kenny Hill the next guy, and they were calling this man Kenny Trill, and they ended up going like 5-6 that year, or 5-7, something crazy. I remember when he first hit the scene, people were like buying his rookie card, like, oh, this is the next Johnny Manziel. No, not at all.
Yeah, I know he was mad. NIL was not around. He'd still be feeding families off those first 4 weeks of college football.
Bro, he wasn't making money off college football. His dad had an oil well, remember?
Did he really?
No!
No, I'm not talking about Johnny. I'm talking about Will. I was like, if NIL was around, he would have been good money by now. He would have sold enough to be still living off that.
Absolutely. So I just had to run those past you to see if your mind changed on that. You're next up in the notes, though.
Yeah, also let me give a shout out to my guy Ron. When we watched if you've never seen it, we watched the Johnny Manziel documentary, and me, him, and Chris, we were all just watched it live together. And very early on, Ron was like, "This guy doesn't seem like he comes from money." And this is before nobody knew, no one knew that he didn't have money, that he actually had lied. It was just signing autographs for money. So Ron was able to detect that very early on that doc before he actually said he made up the lie. So I'd still believe that until he said it. So shout out to him. But yeah, man, also too, podcasts. Let's not forget everybody. Leave a 5-star review, leave some questions up there. And we're done on Spotify podcast. We got to get that going. So we appreciate you there. So I got a couple things for y'all. General college football news first. I want to start with Tavon Austin. Has retired from football. One of the most dynamic players ever to play in college football. I mean, I believe everybody remembers that Oklahoma game, and his highlights, I believe, are the most watched on YouTube, if I'm not sure. But I'm pretty sure it's the most watched on YouTube to this day. But this is the question I want to ask. So Tavon Austin is out the game. We remember his West Virginia days. But Ron, I want to start with you in chat. Throw him in there. What's the most dynamic player that you've seen in college football?
See, when you first asked me this question, I wasn't sure if you wanted me to keep it within the scope of Ohio State. So I'm going to give you two just because I want to give a Buckeye, but I don't necessarily think a Buckeye is the answer to this question. And immediately, and I'm about to date myself, man. Don't call me old out here, but like, bro, growing up when Reggie Bush was playing college football, like there was nothing like that. And then you go back with hindsight, bro was going home to chill with Kim Kardashian after doing all of that. Like legend on the field, legend off the field, legend at the bank. Like there's no Reggie Bush, like the godfather of college football. Like he did it perfectly. I mean, scandal, girlfriend, yards, stats, championships. There's nothing more that you could ask for. He is like the epitome of the college football experience.
No, definitely. You hit the nail right on the head, and that was my non-Ohio State guy of Reggie Bush. But if I had to go Ohio State guy, Daniel in the chat, he's got me to a T. It was him and Ted Ginn. Ted Ginn was the guy at Ohio State. Punt returns, kick returns, anytime he got the ball and had a little bit of daylight, it was lights out. So I did have that one in mind. And a shout out to Chip Kelly. I just remember Chip Kelly having the athletes in Oregon used to be one of my favorite offenses to watch because he always had athletes.
Dennis Dixon, former Steeler.
Dennis Dixon in there. Well, Michael James and those guys, the Anthony Thomas. Also, too, another one I'll throw in there is Noel Devine. I remember he was the greatest player ever to play high school football for a time.
So that was a player that I saw a lot growing up. Growing up in Pittsburgh, the backyard brawl was a big deal, man. And arguing in school at the lunch table with Pitt fans about Noel Devine and Pat White and what that team could do. Steve Slayton, that team was high flying. So yeah, man, that question definitely brought up some good memories. But like when I think most dynamic Buckeye, I mean, the homer in me wanted to say TP, but like he was the most dynamic high school athlete I ever saw. I feel like it wasn't as overpowering once you got to the college level, like the way it looked in high school. So it was hard to choose that. But Braxton Miller, come on now, I could watch that. I could watch that spin move on repeat all day. Like that highlight never gets old. What he was able to do with the ball in his hand, and then to hurt his shoulder, not be able to play quarterback, and then be on the field as a wide receiver at Ohio State after playing quarterback for years. Like it just shows the type of athlete that he is and like the game breaking ability that he had.
Yeah, probably really only him and TP would have been able to do that out of the guys we've seen, and probably not many quarterbacks nationwide could. So definitely in there, but that was a fun one. Definitely just some good memories there and some dynamic guys. So continue to throw them in the chat, and if you see any good ones or somebody that jogs memory, we'll bring it up. So yesterday I brought to you another list, because I know Ron loves lists, the Pro Football Focus top 50 players in college football list. And we talked about Kenneth Grant was at 41, and I said how many Ohio State players would be in there. Well, we got our first debut. So players 40-31 debuted yesterday. Emeka Egbuka is at 37. I'll just name some notable names he's ahead of. Ewers is at 38, so he's ahead of Ewers. Ruben Bain from Miami, the pass rusher, is at 39, and Jalen Milroe is at 40. And I'll also throw Oregon's Johnny Cornelius. He's at 32. He's the tackle. For everybody knows when they came to the Big Ten, everybody talked about Oregon might have the best pair of tackles, so he is one of them. So Emeka Egbuka at 37, ahead of Quinn Ewers. Did you see that coming?
Yeah, I did. If you watched the show, I said Emeka was going to be on the list.
That's not the question I had. They're ahead of Quinn Ewers.
Yes, when we talked about this earlier in the week, we talked about the top 50 players, and we were talking about Kenneth Grant and players 41 through 50. And you asked what Buckeyes that I expect to see on the list. I named 3. I said Caleb Downs, Emeka Egbuka, and Quinshawn Judkins. And Emeka Egbuka was the one that I kind of hesitated with because I named the first 2, and I said maybe 3. And I just know how when these lists come out, they just go and look at recruiting rankings and box scores, and they're like, well, second leading receiver, 5-star, top player. So, yeah, I'm not surprised that Emeka's on that list. And, yeah, I definitely thought that would be the first Buckeye that we would see if we had any. Well, obviously, we're going to have some on the list. I think it's going to end at 3. Do you think it's 3? Do you think we might have forgot someone, seeing where Emeka's
It really depends. I could see one of our DNs thrown in there somewhere where you'd be like, oh, really? Okay, you go. You may rate them higher than me, but I think Caleb Downs and Quinshawn Judkins will definitely be up there. I can maybe see us sneaking in one more. I don't know. Donovan Jackson could sneak in there. He's on the freaks list, and I didn't expect him to be there. So I could see maybe another 3 Ohio State players. Maybe even a Denzel Burke in there somewhere. I could see Denzel Burke in there. So
I could see that too. I just feel like Denzel doesn't get the love that he gets from like the national media. I feel like Buckeye fans and Buckeye media know how good Denzel is, but I feel like the national media is constantly looking for a reason not to give him credit. And they're like, oh, well, look at Travis Hunter and look at this guy and look at that guy. They're just constantly trying to name someone other than Denzel Burke, but I feel like he is going to cement himself in the, top cornerback in the country conversation this season.
Yeah, he was on the Bednarik Awards list with Caleb Downs and Jack Sawyer. I was surprised to see Jack Sawyer on there. So I was there have high expectations for him, and I'm hoping to. Fingers crossed. So, yeah, most definitely. But he's at 37. We'll see what we have coming up. And now I have a big question for you. So this is something I actually seen this news yesterday, went to write it in the show. And then I went over to watch Minister Sports, catch it on the late night. And this was actually a good conversation between Zach and Chris. So this was the news. So Florida is looking for a GM to manage the revenue sharing for their roster. Sort of a guy to manage the budget, get players in there, and kind of do from the financial side, somebody that I guess will pair with their director of player personnel. So this is my question for you and the chat also. Is this the direction Ohio State should go? NIL started to play a big name. Obviously, we know we spent, $20 million, $22 million, Ross Bjork said. And I was at the NIL side, and we've heard a lot of this salary cap for your roster, salary cap for recruiting. So you'll know this one too. Duke was the first one I heard to do this, Duke basketball.
I was just waiting for you to finish up because I figured you were gonna ask, should Ohio State do it? And I was gonna say absolutely, and they should follow Duke's lead. They went out and hired Rachel Baker, a former Nike
exec.
Exec is a very interesting word to use there. I would go with bagman. When she first got hired at Duke, they asked her what was the hardest part about her job when she worked at Nike, and she said, moving large portions of cash through the airport. That's a very interesting.
Bought it with the cartel.
Yeah, that's a very interesting difficulty to have as a Nike executive. Like she talked about telling like airport security, "Oh, I just sold my car. That's why I have $40,000 on me in cash." I'm like, what kind of car are you driving that you're getting $40,000 for a used car? Money bags over here. I think that might raise more flags than just saying I'm giving this to high school kids.
Not speakers, that's for sure.
Exactly. But yeah, man, Rachel Baker, an absolute monster on the trail. And I mean, the second that Duke knows that they're about to sign and commit, you just see her face all over the timeline because everyone knows that she's a closer. And I feel like Duke needs someone that's on the staff, someone that understands the business, someone that understands the industry, someone that's not going to be afraid to get dirty, maybe. No, we don't bend the rules or break the rules, so we're not that team up north. But someone that's down to do what needs to be done to acquire and build the best roster. And I think a GM is definitely necessary, especially in the new landscape of college football. And Duke is ahead of the program and ahead of the rest of the country in the way that they run their program. And I think Ohio State can learn from it. I feel like Duke basketball has the best social media team in the country. Their social network has the largest following across any sport. Duke or Ohio State could take a few notes from Duke.
All right, so check out the Blue Devil roast coming to you in
as soon as football season wraps up, this becomes a Duke Blue Devil morning show.
Oh man, but no, you made a lot of excellent points, and too, I think, and I don't want to steal their thunder. Obviously, go check out that minute segment because I thought it was really good, and they talk about the future of staffs as well. But having somebody more so on the money side to work across from Mike Pantoni, and I think they even went as deep to having your own scouting department because with the extension of staffs, you can have as many guys on the roster as you want. We know those positions where guys may not be the best position coach, but they're good recruiters. So I think somebody to partner with Mark Pantoni and obviously handle that money side. And we've had misses. Obviously, when you get into those big recruiting battles, and we talked about, what the number one receiver in the nation going to Oregon just went for, or these tackles, and you look at different rosters of like, how are these guys pulling in, linemen we can't get or whatever. It can only help on the recruiting side and having those budgets of bringing in a class and not blowing all your money on one guy or something like that. So I think there's a lot of directions they can go with this, but I think this could be a definite benefit to Ohio State.
Definitely. It's going to be interesting to see how this administration and staff around this team is structured, especially with the changing landscape and the new revenue sharing about to roll out. You started to mention position coaches, so we might as well jump right into it. You guys see the graphic talking about the Next Rockstar Position Coach, and you see the guys on the graphic, Peyton Pierce and Arvell Reese. It feels like we are a year away from talking about the linebacker room the way we talk about the cornerback room right now. Tim Walton came over here and took a position of weakness in cornerback and has made it an absolute position of strength at Ohio State and has made it a marquee position that kids around the country want to be a part of. And I feel like we're starting to build that with the linebacker room. You see Peyton Pierce got his black stripe off yesterday. He joins Jalen McClain, Edric Houston, and James Peoples, freshmen at camp that have had their black stripe removed already. Just your thoughts on the linebacker room and the room that James Laurinaitis is building.
I wouldn't say quite a year. I'm not optimistic. I'll give him a little bit of time. Tim Walton is third year now, fourth year?
Third
year. Okay. But Tim Walton, the first thing he did, and people may forget, and I gave him a lot of credit in his first season, is everybody remembers Denzel Burke at the beginning of 2022. Like, oh, he got worse. This is not freshman Denzel Burke, yada, yada, yada. But what he did by the end of the season was he had him and Cam Brown playing at a very high level, and they were not the reason we lost games down the stretch. I mean, Cam Brown missed that one tackle. But besides that play, they were not the reason we lost games down the stretch. It was more so the safety room got exposed. So he took what he had and he started to develop them, and then they were really good players at the end of the season. And then part of that recruiting, which he is already doing. So what I need from Jim Knowles, who is becoming a rock star and obviously pulling one of the best linebackers out of Florida in Texas, doesn't normally happen up here at Ohio State. We don't say that every year. So I need him to develop this room and get the most out of those guys. And if he continues to recruit the way he does, I mean, we've heard good things about Arvell Reese coming up. That is development. James Laurinaitis has been here on his second season. Wasn't a full-time staff member, so he has some key in that development. We heard about CJ Hicks, relearning how to play football, so he's doing something there. He's pushing some buttons to get him to play well. So as long as he can get those guys to reform and continue to recruit the way he's recruiting, Peyton Pierce obviously has come in and established himself very early. I think he is on his way to being a rock star coach at Ohio State.
I agree. We saw 4 freshmen lose their black stripe during camp. Is there a guy not named Jeremiah Smith from the freshman class that you expect to be a contributor this year?
That's a good question. I mean, I think it's most easy on offense. It has been hard for these defensive players to get snaps efficiently. So as of right now, I would say it's probably one of the 2 running backs, either James Peoples or Sam Williams-Dixon, who will, maybe not. I mean, obviously got the two best players in the country ahead of them, but I think they will get some snaps and make a little impact where you're feeling like, okay, next season, this guy's he's gonna have something to say. And I think that's kind of where you want from your freshman class. You want some flashes in there. I don't know if Peyton Pierce is gonna play. We've heard a lot of good things about him, but I don't even know if Arvell Reese is gonna play yet. So it's hard to put him in there. But Aaron Scott is another one where Tim Walton does a good job getting through his rotation. So that's a guy who you may see and say, hey, next season, he's going to be ready to go. So I would probably go either running back or corner position for guys playing this season.
Yeah, I would definitely go with James Peoples. It feels like we were primed for another Dallin Hayden style freshman year from James Peoples. I feel like they're going to be treating both Quinshawn and Trey like they're RB1 and trying to get them off the field in blowouts early. And you're going to see James People in that Dallin Hayden, Master Teague type of role of wear the defense down in the second half and keep our starting running backs healthy. So I think James Peoples is a guy that has a big opportunity in front of him and a chance to seize some playing time this season. Our guy, Cam, jumped ahead in the chat. It's like he's reading our show notes. He was talking about silver bullets of the day. Sonny Styles was yesterday. JT the day before that. Arvell and Lathan, the most recent silver bullets of the day. Again, we talked about the potential of the linebacker room. You're seeing Arvell Reese, a guy that has a top 100 linebacker ahead of him like Gabe Powers. It feels like Arvell Reese is really making a push to be the backup Mike linebacker. Do you think by the end of the year, that's the guy we see coming in for Cody Simon when Cody Simon needs a breather?
I don't know. I mean, I did sell all my Gabe Power stock, so I haven't been hearing much, but
Price of the brick went up. Don't try to buy it back now. Because I scooped up all them cheap stocks and I have my listings way high. So don't even try to come back for it.
Well,
I'm holding all the Gabe Powers stock.
So I go to China for my stocks like all the rich people do. There's always back ways. But I will say, on the field performance is very different from practice. And he hasn't touched the field yet to where we see what he can do. Arvell Reese as well, but the first thing you want to hear is going well in practice. So I do believe he can, but again, I don't know what these guys are going to look like on the field yet. Even Cody Simon, we really haven't seen him play extended minutes in a couple seasons now. So I don't know where any of these guys are. So could he take the position and even be the starter by the end of the year? Like, yeah, if he goes out and pops and flashes and starts to do stuff, we can't keep him off the field. But I would say I think Gabe Powers will have something to say about that position. And I'm hoping once he gets on the field, the state of return of all the work and practice and development continues to pay off. So it's questionable right now, but I think he's doing everything you want to hear about Arvell Reese as far as training camp goes.
We talked about James Laurinaitis potentially being the next Rockstar coach on staff and transforming that room in the way that Tim Walton did. And he said we might be a year early on that, but I just want to run through the linebacker room for you and see if you still feel that way when you include the recruits that are coming in. You know, Sonny Styles, a guy that came into school early and is still growing into his body. I got our guy our guy Juck over on Menace talked about how big Sonny Styles is these days, that they think that he's taller than 6'4". He looks taller than CJ Hicks out there. You see him standing with the rest of the linebackers. The guy looks different. And if he continues to grow, if he ends up 6'6" by the end of the season, who knows? Maybe Sonny Styles' future is as a defensive end if he keeps growing. Does he stay at Ohio State and learn another position? Does he go straight to the NFL? A guy that we don't know where Sonny's going to be. He hasn't played the linebacker position as a starter, but most guys expect him to head to the NFL after this year. But who knows? If he's back in that room, another loaded room. CJ Hicks, a guy that is kind of blocked by Sonny Styles. Jesus Christ over here. All these names mixing up. CJ Hicks sitting behind a guy like Sonny Styles. Does he not get playing time? Is he back next year? Arvell Reese is already pushing Gabe Powers. Gabe Powers was a top 100 recruit still on the roster. Peyton Pierce getting his black stripe off already. Riley Pettijohn bringing a different type of speed we haven't seen in that linebacker room in years. TJ Alford, another guy that could move laterally. And then Garrett Stover, a guy making a transition from safety to linebacker, similar to Sonny Styles, is already clocking crazy speeds inside of practice. This room seems like it's a year away, and we're pretty confident with the linebacker play coming into this season with a veteran like Cody Simon leading the way. Are we maybe 1 year away if one of these guys hits?
Nothing you said there was wrong. And I feel like it almost feels like we have a, a cash GM running the linebacker room because all the talent you want is there. The thing about Ohio State is getting your best talent to develop and now show that on the field. And the linebacker room hasn't done that for years now. We look at last season. Tommy and still held the position down for a while, but I don't think anybody would say they were the most gifted on the roster. And you felt from the linebacker room that the most gifted players haven't quite hit the field and blossomed in a while. And you look around the nation. I was watching Oklahoma, Texas yesterday, and just guys were flying around. I heard freshman, 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 young guy, young guy. And that's just not something we've heard yet from the linebacker room as far as guys getting in there and play. So I think all the talent is there, but now it's on Jalen Laurinaitis. Like, okay, you got the people in the room. Can you develop them? Can you get them flying? Can you make this unit an actual someone to fear to where people aren't like, okay, well, when we play Ohio State, tight ends over Baghdad, Oppenheimer season when we go up against those guys. So I think the developmental side is key. And I think this season is a big season for James Laurinaitis. Chris had talked about it last year. He said, can you get CJ Hicks ready? That was a big job, James Laurinaitis, as far as we looked from the outside in, and that did not happen. We had the same two guys go out there and play, and there wasn't much rotation. So that is the big question he needs to answer. You stated it. The talent is there. Can he get them to perform at a high level and get an All-American or at least All Big Ten linebacker out of this room?
I agree, and that'll definitely be a notch in his belt if he's able to come out here and get one of these guys ready, especially if he sends one of them to the NFL. If not two, I feel like Cody Simon. I mean, we had a heated debate about that a couple times on this show. Is Cody Simon an NFL guy? I say yes. So I think Cody Simon's going to come out here and open some eyes. So it's going to be fun to see how this linebacker room plays out, and it's definitely someone to keep your eye on the staff as far as, assessing their performance this year and checking out how the linebackers perform. I wanted to get your thoughts on a picture that we saw from camp, man. Everything that we hear from camp seems like the energy around this team is different, and this picture seems to sum it up perfectly. Look at that picture, man. Ryan Day and Ginn Jr., Ted Ginn, Maurice Claret were there at practice doing some things for their foundation. Just get your thoughts on seeing the Buckeye legends back around the facility and around this team before they get ready to make a potential national championship run.
Oh man, it was amazing seeing Maurice Claret back. We've seen him on the timeline a lot. Haven't seen him much around the guys. Ryan Shazier as well. And at a point, I had talked about this as maybe some of the potential that Ohio State, especially with this expanded staff, could look at in the future. But it seems like the culture is definitely leveling up at Ohio State. But I was like, man, you got all these former players sitting around, like they're around, Columbus, they're around Ohio. We've talked to Gary Conley. He said, hey, man, if there's one place, I would go back and help out, it's at Ohio State. And if you truly want to set the culture, bring in some of these guys around to maybe be kind of like a mentor, maybe like a position coach, and just kind of mentor that room and bring guys in, especially in this era of college football where you're dealing with a lot more than they were back in the day. But it is great to see these guys around, say Ted Ginn, Ryan Shazier, Troy Smith, and just the attitude. And it seems like all news was good news coming out from those guys of where the program is heading. And it seems like Ryan Day, a guy who we talked about on this program before, of maybe not quite buying into that Ohio State culture, or maybe trying to get away from what Jim Tressel did, what Urban Meyer did, and really put his stamp. But he wasn't quite grabbing the positive stuff that they, had left for him of like, oh, this is how you do things, or these are the connections you need to have. So it seems like, again, Ryan Day is turning the leaf of digging into those resources, and it is going to pay dividends, man. And this is great to see.
Absolutely great to see. I see our guy Chris in the chat saying, we need to see Terrell Pryor. I'm here to tell you, if you want to see Terrell Pryor, you got to go to Westmoreland Country Club. Bro's on the golf course every day. You know what I mean? He's big in real estate. He's big in golf. He's on the golf course in the morning and counting his money in the afternoon. I don't know how often you will see him in Columbus. He's in Pittsburgh, enjoying life in Western Pennsylvania, just being a retired golfer.
Hey man, if we see more Maurice Claret here, anything's possible. If he's welcome back, it seems like the gates have been open. So it's definitely a great thing to see these guys around. I'm hoping maybe they pick up this mentorship program that I've thrown out there, get some of these guys around the Woody permanently.
Absolutely. I agree 1,000% there. Man, we almost have 300 people in here this morning. A big thank you to you guys pulling up for the show. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you smash that like button. If you're on Twitter, make sure you throw a retweet on the video, a like. Make sure you follow Q if that's how you found the stream. But we have a new game to debut here. I'm super excited about.
I'm not. It's exciting.
We are going to debut a new game called Name That Prospect. I want everybody in the chat to go ahead and play along with us. So what we're going to do is we're going to read a scouting profile from a high school scouting profile about a former Buckeye during the Ryan Day era. And I want you guys in the chat and Q to let me know if you can guess who this Buckeye is by the scouting report. So we have our first one here.
Okay.
Extremely long defender with big joints that wears 245 pounds naturally. Young for his grade and will bulk up to 275 pounds with ease. Archetype hand-down defensive end and frame generational testing numbers at his size, athletic versatility to play wide receiver. Uses hands effectively to read and shed in the run game. Eats up space in the zone read game. Processes twitch and suddenness and can bend the edge as a pass rusher. Speed in the pursuit is elite, very raw as a pass rusher. Still learning to use his hands and developing pass rush instincts. Doesn't yet dominate the way his physical traits dictate he should. Potential number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft and definite impact Power 5 starter. Q, who in the Ryan Day era is this defensive end that could also have been a wide receiver? Or a wide receiver that could have been a defensive end.
I think I know who it is. I think I do feel confident. So I'll let the chat go for a second, but I'm going to go with Zach Harrison.
Ding, 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 ding. Zach Harrison. I thought the wide receiver line might trip you up, but at the same time, when they started talking about a defensive end that doesn't necessarily use their size, I think that might have been a giveaway.
Yeah, just because I knew he had a skinnier frame. I know they said JTT in the chat. I know he weighed more than we talked about JTT as a 3-tech before he even came in Ohio State. It was like, there's no way he's staying at 275 pounds. This is going to be 315, and boy, was I wrong. He's staying defensive end. So, yeah, running like a wide receiver, that speed, athleticism, I had a good feeling it was Zach Harrison.
All right, we're on to the next one.
Okay, here we go.
2nd or 3rd round pick for this guy. Good frame with length, can hold 10 more pounds easily, athletic and quick, ran a 4.53 in the 40, changes direction well, and is physical, highly productive player who excelled against the best teams, accelerates to top speed in a few steps, has shown plus body control, sound tackler, diagnosis plays well, has good closing speed, plays well in traffic, can disengage, good in coverage depth, needs to show he can cover running back out of the backfield, increasing upper body flexibility, important multi-year starter at a high-level program, day 2 NFL draft pick.
Okay, so this is a linebacker. They talked about covering running backs. Ran a 4.53. Ryan Day era. Linebacker.
Let us know in the chat, guys. If you have any guesses, drop them in the chat and we'll call them out. So make sure you drop these names in the chat if you have any guesses of who this recruiting profile could potentially be. I see a Reed Carrico in the chat.
Ooh, that might be a shout. It's not CJ Hicks. He would have had a 1st-round grade. I don't think it's Gabe Powers either. I think Gabe Powers was rounds 4 through 7.
You're on the clock. You got 3 seconds. Give me an answer.
I'll rock with Reed Carrico, even though it might not be him. Use my life.
The level of athleticism I've been trying to explain to y'all. Cody Simon was a 4.53 guy
forgot.
in
2020. 2020 got me. I was thinking 2021 and above.
Yep. Nope. I went back to the 2019 class. So Cody Simon, a guy that people forget about, a highly touted linebacker coming out of New Jersey, top 100 player in his class, a 4.5 40 guy. So someone that I feel like people sleep on his athleticism, but I feel like that was a little reminder. This dude is a freak athlete. And I mean, I told you guys I stood next to him at camp. This guy, I have no criticisms. No criticisms. He looks like a scary individual. So I'm excited to see what Cody Simon is able to do on the field.
That was a good one.
Another one. A 4th to 7th round pick. Ability to add 20 to 30 pounds to carry on his frame. I had to blur out one line because I thought it might give it away. Pure athlete, tremendous acceleration and body control, built to play free safety, but has linebacker mindset, physical and run and pass game, breaks on ball well in front of him, has speed to recover sideline to sideline, impressive closing speed, taking great angles, can change direction at a high rate of speed, must add strength to upper body and mass.
That's a good one. I'm gonna say Garrett Stover.
I was so excited to put this one in here because I knew there was absolutely no way in hell you were gonna guess this one.
Bryson Shaw. No way.
Come for Bryson Shaw.
They meant to say undrafted. They meant projected.
Bro, they talked about this man's closing speed like he was Usain Bolt, bro. I was reading it and I was like, I had to scroll back up on the page like, this ain't the same recruit. There's absolutely no way. I don't know which version that we got, but whoever they scouted never made it to Ohio State.
That man was balling out. Practice All-American. That was with the safety speed, I was like, okay, maybe it's Garrett Stover because he did play safety in high school, transitioning it down. So I was like, sideline to sideline, closing speed. Yeah, Garrett Stover.
I was worried that this one would be too easy, but I mean, how could we leave this guy out of the show
right now?
First round pick. This is from our guy, Steve Wiltfong. First round pick reminds us of Julio Jones. Terrific combination of size, strength, and leaping ability. Easily separates speed and physicality, makes him elite after the catch, and ball skills are exceptional. A game changer on special teams as well, with another gear once he sees a seam or daylight to the end zone. A difference maker in the red zone. There may be a few receivers faster, but fewer with as many tools in their bag. Q. Who was the recruit that they said reminded them of Julio Jones?
This has got to be Jeremiah Smith. It has to be. I don't know anybody else. It's definitely not Marv. Marv wouldn't have been a first round projection. There's really not me. It has to be JJ. There's no other big receiver.
Whoa, Julian Fleming.
Oh my God. You know, these players' careers are affecting my guesses.
Steve Wiltfong, guys, make sure you guys pay for 247. Where else are you going to find analysis like that? Julio Jones, Julian Fleming. I tell my family that quite often. You know, Julian Fleming reminds me of Julio Jones, first round pick.
Credit to Julie. He was an absolute freak show in high school, but god damn it. Oh man, his career has tainted. Maybe not.
When I saw the Julio Jones comparison when I scrolled down, because I was like, I gotta find players that were hyped up, that are gonna have outlandish player comparisons that you're never going to get. And I was like, Julio Jones, everyone's going to assume this is JJ. But no, at one point in time, Julian Fleming was the top wide receiver in his class and thought to be the next Julio Jones.
Yeah, physical freak, man. He never quite put it together, but he was physical freak in high school. He would have been on the freaks list. Where's that freaks list at, man? He's got to be on one of those 2020 freaks list. He's got
with a recruiting profile like that. You would assume Julian Fleming would have been number one on the freaks list.
Yeah, Julio Jones. Oh my God. Oh, what a 4.
All right, I got 2 more, I think.
Oh, no, I'm afraid now.
Honestly, no, I think this might be the last one. Yeah, this is the last one. This is our last one. 4th to 7th round pick. Thin build with long arms and projectable frame. Should take Good on weight over next few years. Fluid athlete that could thrive on offense or defense. Very good ball skills. Dynamic receiver with the quickness to explode out of breaks. Sets up defenders well.
Long I'm a go Craig Young.
That's so funny you mentioned Craig Young, because I was like, I know that's Q's guy, and if he reads the profile, he's gonna be upset that he never played here, and I didn't end up putting him in here. It is not Craig Young. It is a guy that you guys might be a little surprised by, because he was underrated coming into college. Our guy Denzel Burke. Projected maybe first round pick, second round pick. At one point was thought to be a fourth or seventh round. A lot of scouting services didn't know if he was going to be a cornerback or a cornerback or a wide receiver, and he comes into Ohio State as a true freshman, is thrown directly into the fire, and has been starting for 3 years now.
That's a good shot. The clues were there. That offense, defense. I remember Craig Young playing receiver coming in, but it's projected he might play linebacker later. And they didn't go too much in the size. I just heard the long arms, and I'm like, all right, well, I know one guy that had those who never played here.
But yeah, man, it's always fun looking back at these recruiting classes, because everybody has such high expectations, especially coming into Ohio State. A lot of these guys are so highly touted. I mean, you see expectations that are placed on them before they ever play a snap. Calling Julian Fleming Julio Jones before he ever plays a down of college football is a little unfair to the player, especially because they didn't ask you to call him Julio Jones. They didn't say they were first-round picks. They're high school kids just going out there to ball. But it is funny seeing guys like Steve Wilfong, who are constantly getting raises, promotions, considered insiders, experts, and then they tell you shit like that. So I thought it was a fun little exercise. Some guys underrated, and then sometimes you forget about the athletic profile that some of these guys have due to injuries or lack of playing time. A guy like Cody Simon, it gets forgotten what type of athlete that he was in high school. So I'm excited to see a lot of these guys out on the field. I mean, hey, a lot of these guys are still playing. Zach Harrison in the NFL, but Bryson Shaw's still at USC. So yeah, man, just figured that would be a fun game to introduce in the off season with,
Is Bryson Shaw actually still there?
I'm pretty sure.
How many years eligibility does he have? He's been
Lots.
playing since 2018, it feels like.
Yeah, man, it feels like bro's been playing forever. But yeah, man, I just wanted to switch it up. Not much news coming out of the Woody, and it's like Fort Knox around there as far as information out of practice. So I figured we'd play a little recruiting game before the season really hits full swing. But man, we got 312 people in here right now. If you're watching on Facebook, make sure you smash that like button. It really helps us in the algorithm. If you're watching on Twitter, give it a like, a retweet. If you're watching on if you see it in the community today, make sure you throw a like and a retweet on that video. And we are almost at 100 followers on Facebook. I think we hit like 50 yesterday. We want to start broadcasting over on Facebook. The link is in the description. If you have a Facebook and you could do us a favor and go ahead and throw a like and follow on that page, trying to expand the audience of the show and bring this to as many Buckeye fans around the nation as possible. So Facebook is the next destination. So if you guys could help us out there, the link is in the bio. Q, it's that time. Let the people know where they can find you. We're ready to get out of here.
Oh, man, well, that was a great time. Love that game. We definitely got to bring it back some, because there's a lot of guys we could definitely go, and it will be a little bit difficult. So thank you for putting that together. Chat, another good day of seeing y'all in the morning. Let's not forget podcasts. Get over there, hit those 5-star reviews, help us out. Ron's been working hard. And on the Facebook, get those likes up. We did pretty well the first day. So if everybody goes and tells a friend, we should be able to get that done and can live stream over there. If you want to find me, I'm City Boy Quitting on Twitter. Not hard to find over there. Flying at Johnson on both Instagram and TikTok, and Minor League Films here on YouTube. I got a couple reviews coming. I got to do. Alien and Romulus actually comes out this weekend, so I had to watch Alien and Aliens, which Aliens is in my top 5 favorite movies of all time. And then I had to watch the beginning of Aliens 3 and throw my remote. So it does not make me very happy. So if you like movie reviews, go check out his Minor League Films over there. Ron, where they can find you.
If they want to find me, they can find me on Twitter at 2Ts. It's 2_TES. They can find me here weekdays with you for the Buckeye Roast at 8 a.m. and then Sundays for Buckeye BS with our guys Cam and Mike at 10 a.m. every Sunday. So appreciate everybody tuning in. We will see you tomorrow. Go Bucks and OH.
Ayo.
From my hometown,